Hello.
So, I'm the guest, so why am I calling in?
You're going to start this off with an attitude?
Of course.
This is how we're going to start off again?
It starts off with, who are you, didn't it? You should be reading my biography and telling the folks who I am. You're supposed to, you're supposed to, you're supposed to introduce me to the listeners.
No, they're not called listeners. They're called eavesdroppers. Have you learned nothing?
Oh, forgive me. I guess that must be that baby boomer thing.
All right, I'm just going to kick it off.
You are?
Who are you? Who are you? How do we know each other? And where can people find you online?
Well, which question do I answer first? And are we already live?
Yeah, you didn't get the memo?
No. Anyway, so hi eavesdroppers. I want you all to know there's actually a movie called Eavesdropper because that was a CIA program that may or may not still be in effect. But I'm not going to say to the eavesdroppers out there. So for you guys who are bored, yeah, find that movie Eavesdropper. You'd be surprised where your tax dollars are being spent. Anyway,
Dad,
I guess the first question is...
No, I'm going to have to make the rules all over again.
Hey, you said eavesdropper.
No government. We're not talking any government or politics up to date.
You said eavesdropper. I'm just enlightening the audience. I'm sorry, the eavesdroppers.
All right, back to the question.
So the first question is, who am I? Well, some call me the Prince of Darkness. Some call me Major Payne. Some call me Mark from Anaheim, which is a name I've used on radio shows since the 1990s. But I guess, according to blood tests, I'm supposed to be the host's father.
Did you ever get a blood test? Did you ever get a blood test?
Yeah, didn't you remember I snatched your hair before you left for Texas? What you think I took? You think I took you to pizza? You think I took you for pizza just to spend time with you?
Wait, okay. This is something I've always wondered, Dad. I've never asked you this question, but it's something I have asked Mom.
Well, I guess we're going into another question.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Because you said this thing about DNA. So my little brother, when he was born, he came out. Well, I guess I should say, if people can't tell by your voice, like you're a black man.
I am. I'm pecan brown, but go ahead.
And your son came out white with
what's your point?
Light eyes. Did you wonder? I mean, okay, look, he's clearly your twin. Like you guys, you got the same eyes and lips and all that. But like,
don't ever be on a witness stand. But as a judge would say, is there a question in this?
Did you ever wonder, like, in the back of your head, were you like, how did I make a white baby? And I don't mean like obviously he's half Mexican, half black, but like,
isn't this the same person who
referred
me to the? Isn't this the same person who referred me to the television show Shameless?
Yes.
Didn't they have a black baby in an all-white family?
Well, that's different. It
goes that's different. Why is it different?
That's a TV show. That's different.
Oh, so you think that what on that television show doesn't happen in real life? That's why you refer me to that show, because it's so real.
I have to be honest. Like in the early '90s, did you get stares? Like, did people kind of go, "Why does this?"
Stop. I have to answer one part of the question before you go on and on and on with 20 others. So one. As far as your brother goes, I never did a blood test, so I'm not sure if he's, Yeah, I didn't. Hey, he didn't meet us for pizza that day, so I don't have his DNA.
Okay.
I've told you this before, and I'll tell you this again. But even when you ask the questions, you claim you don't want to talk about the government. I've always told you. I've always thought I was in a government experiment because I was only 5 years old, living on dirt poor, segregated Johns Island, South Carolina. Back in 1962, and I was already talking about test tube babies. So how the hell would I know about test tube babies as a 5-year-old in backwoods South Carolina in 1962 when test tube babies didn't come around until the 70s? So I've always thought it was an experiment. Let me rephrase that. I didn't always think. What happened was I called Johns Island, South Carolina, just to say hi to some of your relatives. And during that phone call, your cousin who's passed on, Lois Graham, she said, "Oh, we were expecting your call." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're expecting my call?" "Oh, you always call us before we notify you that somebody's died in the family." And I'm like, "Okay, what are you talking about?" So after that conversation is when I made the trip back to Charleston. The trip back to Charleston where you actually got to meet your grandmother. before she passed on. You were a very young, infant. Took your mom crabbing. She got to go crabbing on John's Island. Even though when I send you photographs of her crabbing, you're like, who's this? But I digress. So I sat down with the colored folks on John's Island, since we're all Gullah Geechee. Something else for you eavesdroppers to look up, Gullah Geechee. And I was informed, oh yeah, very, your grandmother enlightened me on the fact that when I was only 2 years old, I was being used for psychic experiments by doctors in New York City. So, as I've said to you before, nothing surprises me because my eyes turn brown, green, hazel, yellow.
Blue. They're looking blue now, but I don't think that's a color.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. I forgot about that. So
they look blue, but I think that might be cataracts, Dad. I think you're going
no,
to
they're not cataracts. So thank you for always being Miss Doom and Gloom. So what I'm just telling you, for you folks out there, because I know you eavesdroppers are a little bit younger than we baby boomers. There was a very popular television show called The X-Files. There's a lot more to the truth than people want to believe in those X-Files TV shows. And even by the end of those series, Scully, who was the person who did not believe in all the conspiracies, discovered that she had been an experiment. Because let me ask you a question. Who were most of my mentors?
Dad?
Because if you knew that answer, you would already know. Yes. Who were most of my mentors?
I'm going to cut this out of the podcast. We're not using the N-word. Different N-word.
Who's talking about N-words?
Nazi.
Who were most of my mentors is what I asked you.
Oh, mentors.
What the hell do you think I said?
Nazis. I was thinking Nazis.
Okay, so why aren't we using the N-word? What is wrong with you?
That word. Nazis.
Do you hear yourself?
Well, that's why right when it came out of my mouth, I realized I said the.
First of all, it wasn't Nazis. It was World War II Office of Strategic Services, OSS. Second, it was World War II Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI. And third, it was former Nazis who were brought to this country after World War II. Those are my mentors. That's why I know so much that other people don't seem to know. And when I share information, they're all like, how come I've never heard this before? Those were the old boys. They're all dead now. Daddy Bush was one of them. And as you know, I used to keep in touch with Daddy Bush. So, by the way, Daddy Bush, was married to Barbara Bush. Barbara Bush went to school in Charleston, right? Ashley Hall. The school you didn't go to. But it's all good. Rosary is okay. So
she and I were in the same sorority, so we're sisters. Okay,
that's true. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. So the thing about it, what I'm saying to you is, when it comes to appearances, I was lighter than Robert when I was born, and I had long hair when I was born. Now I don't remember that. I was told that. So no, it didn't surprise me that Robert was melanin challenged.
Okay. I did always. I mean, look, he looks just like you. It's. There's no question in my mind.
That, well, I'm glad for the validation.
I can't. I
will rest better tonight because of that validation.
When I look at photos of you guys together, like when he was younger.
What the heck do you think you looked like when you were born?
I was not as light as him, and I don't have light eyes.
You were not as light as he, but you were light. I mean, after all. You think Rosary used you because you look like somebody from the Congo?
Okay.
You can be cutting that one out.
I will be cutting that out. Okay, so how do we know each other?
Rumor has it you're my daughter and I'm your father.
And where can people find you online?
Mark from Anaheim, Political Sarcasm 101. I have thousands of people from around the world that follow me and read everything I post because I do not lie to folks. I am brutally honest.
I feel like you said that on the last episode, which, by the way, is by far my most popular episode.
What a shock. I'm a bitching guy. What the hell you expect?
How does that make you feel knowing that?
It doesn't make me feel anything because I hear the same thing from every other talk show I've ever been on. But I will.
Oh God!
Hey, you just asked. I am brutally honest. I am pragmatic. So no, it doesn't really make me feel anything. I'm not. And by the way, as I tell you, I'm not bragging. Just fact. It's sad because we live in a society where fathers and daughters do not have a good relationship. And, for lack of a better term, there are a lot of women running out there with daddy issues. No fault of theirs necessarily, but they have daddy issues. And they end up becoming involved with men to try to fulfill that void, and that usually leads to disastrous relationships. So I think a lot of people, it was refreshing to hear a father and daughter who are able to converse the way we do because we're open and we're honest. And I think, sadly, a lot of the people who probably listen to your podcast don't have that relationship with their fathers, or the men are not having that relationship with their daughters. Next question.
Why does my generation hate your generation?
One, I would hope that you don't speak for your generation, because I damn sure not going to speak for the baby boomers.
Do you consider yourself a baby boomer? I feel guilty calling you that, but
What?
like
it's just a label that some European decided to give everybody because supposedly the end of World War II until Lyndon Baines Johnson swore in as president as a time period, which for you folks out there, because I know you guys don't bother studying history, from 1946 until 1964, that's allegedly the time frame when children were born and they're considered baby boomers. Well, since I was born in 1957, by definition, that would make me a baby boomer. I'm not going to lose any sleep over some label that somebody gave me. I've been called far worse. You called me far worse than baby boomer. I'm sorry?
For the record, I just learned this because I live in Dallas, Texas, so I'm kind of an expert now.
Oh, boy.
Lyndon B.
I like
Johnson.
that. And how long have you been in Texas? How
2
long have
weeks.
you been in
Lyndon
Texas?
B.
You're still
2
visiting, but
weeks.
go ahead.
Lyndon B. Johnson was 1963, only 22 hours after JFK was killed. So, like,
Yeah,
he actually was starting.
Jackie even had the bloody dress on so they could really have the social impact as he swore in on the Bible that Jackie held. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so
but we're not going to talk politics or government, but go ahead.
You went there. Okay. What is something
there.
cool that you or your generation will say got to do in your youth that my generation...
I haven't answered the last question. What I was saying was, one, I don't speak for my generation, so I hope you don't speak for yours. I'll ask you, have I ever taught you hate?
Oh gosh, no. Hate is a strong word. That's what I always heard.
But you use that word in your question. Why does my generation hate your generation? So I find it sad that you would even use that word so loosely, and I find that sad that an entire generation is consumed with hate, because hate is self-destructive. I was never taught hate. And I would imagine a lot of folks would think the things that I've seen, the things that I've personally experienced, I should have a lot of hate. And what really saddens me and kind of sometimes upsets me is when people try to diagnose me and tell me how I feel. If they want to know how I feel, just ask me, because I'm brutally honest. And the fact that I share my life experiences or things that I've seen, or I'm not happy with the unjust of things going on today, does not mean I'm angry or I'm hateful. And God forbid, as a black man, or like me, I just call myself colored. I love it, the fact that if I call myself colored people, I am ignorant and backwards. But oh, you woke people, if you say people of color, wow, that sounds so sophisticated. What the hell is the difference between colored people and people of color? That's how stupid our society has become. But I digress once again. What I'm saying to you is this. You use that word hate because that's what has become mainstream now. It's okay to hate. People are hating. They don't even know why they're hating. So if your generation is spending all that time hating on my generation, I will say they might have a little bit of reason to, because my generation has destroyed much of your future. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but it's true. I mean, baby boomers were driving around. Actually, it wasn't even baby boomers. After the generation before mine actually had bumper stickers that read, "We are spending our grandchildren's inheritance." It's like it was a joke to them. They don't care about destroying the planet because they figure they're going to be dead by the time it happens. But your generation, and the generation that's following behind yours, they're the ones stuck having to clean up this mess, or hoping to just make it survivable for the future, as the planet continues to experience severe climate change, for lack of a better term. So yeah, I can see why your generation would hate, and we have all the money. I don't know why you guys disrespect us. You don't have the money. We have the money.
Okay.
When's the last time I worked?
Dad, I love you, but that was a very long-winded answer, and we have a lot more to get through. And the editing on this is going to be so rough.
That's because you shouldn't be editing. You should make it into 2 shows. That's what you should be doing. Not that I'm going to tell you how to do your show, but I would say you should make it a part 1 and a part 2, because while you're sitting here editing, what I'm telling you is what your eavesdroppers need to be hearing.
Okay.
But go ahead.
All right.
Continue.
What is something cool that you got to do in your youth that I, or perhaps my generation, likely never will?
I went to a Ku Klux Klan rally.
God, Dad.
You have?
So cool.
Oh, yes, it was. Because if they knew I was there, I'd have been dead. That's what made it cool. I snuck in and got away with it. I don't think too many people in your generation are going to be able to do that, because they don't openly do that stuff anymore. So, hey, I'm just telling you. You can't ask me questions and expect me to answer the way you want.
Okay. That's your definition of cool. Okay.
Hey, and you know what? And I'm sure the eavesdroppers will be going, damn, that is cool. And took a lot of balls.
I was gonna say, it sounds terrifying. It doesn't sound cool or
Well, didn't you ever see that there's a series of movies with Martin Lawrence and whoever?
White power! White power! White power! Blue power, motherfuckers! Miami PD!
Oh, damn. It's the Negras. Bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when we come for you?
They went undercover at a Klan rally. I'm like, yeah, I did that when I was a teenager. Oh, by the way, people at the College of Charleston still talk about it, because for Halloween, I actually dressed up as a Klan member and walked down the street in Charleston, and I'd say 75% of the people blew their horns supporting me, but there was 25% that didn't. But literally, I'm not making this up. I have people from the College of Charleston, and this happened in 1978, maybe 79. So we're talking 40 years ago. And I still have people from the College of Charleston saying, oh, yeah, I remember that. Next question.
What's something I had growing up that your generation didn't?
Me as a father.
Aww.
Oh. No, I had no father figure. I was living with my grandmother. When I was at the age of 5, I was sent to live with my elderly grandmother on Johns Island, South Carolina, because she was living alone. And back then you didn't have 911, so they actually put a phone in the house so I could dial 0, which stood for operator, and that would get you the emergency number. And of course, I used to chop wood. I guess that's something else you wouldn't do. You never chop wood, pump water. You never use an outhouse, because my first couple of years on Johns Island, we used an outhouse. We didn't have indoor plumbing. So I guess those are also some things that your generation probably never. I guess, of course, we use a portalette when we go to Coachella. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess growing up, you had a father. I didn't.
Dad, that's sweet. That's sad. Well, okay.
No, that's real, but I'm sorry. Go ahead. Remember, I was mentored by Nazis. I don't have those feelings you have, but go ahead. I don't have those emotion outbursts that you have. Well, I guess if I was getting into psychobabbling, it goes back even further. The entire time I lived with my grandmother, I was never hugged. You know the first time an adult hugged me?
Marine Corps graduation.
No, actually, it was, wow. I'm thinking of this. It was when Captain Samuel Jones, he was the commanding officer of the Charleston Naval Base, which is long gone. He was the commanding officer of the Naval Base. He was a mentor to Roger Staubach. Since you're in Dallas, you better know who Roger Staubach is. Do you have any idea who Roger Staubach is?
No.
But I tell you what, you better never answer that no again. You got homework tonight because you're in Dallas, Texas. Roger Staubach is Mr. Football, and he was the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. That's why Dallas is called the American team. Roger Staubach still did his time in the Navy before he went to the NFL. Well, Captain Samuel Jones was Roger Staubach's mentor at the Naval Academy. Captain Jones was my mentor later on. When Captain Jones retired, since he was the commanding officer and he could do what he wanted, I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps at that time. And we broke all kinds of protocols. I ended up being his driver and bodyguard for his retirement. And he hugged me at his retirement. That was the first time in my entire life that I had ever been hugged. And I was already a sergeant in the Marine Corps. So, I mean, I had girlfriends. That was different. But what I'm saying, if it came to somebody as a family member or somebody who's giving you a hug, as we would call agape love. Do you know what agape love is?
Mm-hmm.
Never happened. Mm-hmm. So I think there was that kind of coldness that kind of bled over a little bit at times, being a single father with you and your brother. I was hard on you guys. Yes, next question.
Okay. How did you learn how to swim?
I didn't. Because on Johns Island, where I grew up, blacks weren't allowed to go to the beach, and they couldn't go to public pools. And what happened was, when I ended up living with my sister and brother-in-law in Quantico, Virginia in 1971, because I was becoming too incorrigible to live with my grandmother, I jumped in the pool like all the little white children on base that day, and I drowned. Yes, I drowned when I was, that was 1971, so I was 13. Had that out-of-body experience, too. So from that day forward, after this Marines did their CPR and whatever, they brought me back to life. I was in that pool every day. Most people, I guess, with experience like that wouldn't go near the water again. No, hell no. I was down at that pool every day taking swim lessons, and I was swimming laps, and I was in the 1,000-mile club in Quantico for swimming laps in the pool. So by the time we moved back to South Carolina, which was in 73, I was an avid swimmer. And so that's how I learned how to swim. I learned how to swim through the Red Cross in a pool that's long gone. It was called a Staff Non-Commissioned Officers Pool in Quantico, Virginia, near Smedley Butler Stadium. Now you know.
That's sweet and sad. I didn't realize, I knew the drowning story, but I didn't know that that's why you drowned, because you literally didn't know how to swim.
I was following these cute little white girls in the pool. Hey, they jumped in the deep end. I'll jump in too. I didn't go back to the top. You know, it was a little embarrassing, because when I came out, I guess it was embarrassing that everybody else knew how to swim and I couldn't. But, you know, I think they were more worried about covering their butts, because they're like, oh, shit, we let this guy drown in the pool. The Marines, because it was a Marine Corps base, and unlike today, all the lifeguards were Marines. So the last thing they wanted was military police and everybody investigating it. And, you know, I was never like one of those tattletale. They brought me back to life, and I'm like, dude, I'm good. I'm out of here. Let's go. And they're like, because they would have been court-martialed. So nobody ever knew about that. Well, I mean, those Marines are somewhere today. I don't know who they are. I'm sure they're retired or dead or whatever. But those Marines didn't lose their career, and I think that's what happened. They are the ones who made me kind of cut a deal with them, so I would learn how to swim. And I was back at that pool every day. So, yeah.
How did you raise a girl or woman that I am now when you never were one?
You mean rare, but I'm sure that's what you meant. You just saying raise to get a raise out of me.
Oh,
remember, you eavesdroppers.
Gosh.
You raise livestock, you rear children. Don't ask the logic, because when I hear rear, I'm sure somebody's thinking anal crap. So when it comes to rearing, maybe perhaps living with my grandmother at an early age, being around women for most of my early childhood, I guess that feminine side is out there. It was
Maybe
tough
because you
though.
just treated me like a boy.
It was tough with you
Maybe
though,
you just
because
treated me like a boy, and that's how you did it. You just treated me like a man.
Stop. Okay, for you eavesdroppers out there, she'll probably cut this out. But just to give you one example of how she's not being accurate in her childhood memory, there was that point in her childhood when I'm saying she's too old for me now to be giving her showers. So I instructed her that she would now have to give herself showers. I did not find out until 5 years ago from her, when she's already an adult. She thought I didn't love her anymore.
I was really offended.
So don't tell me I reared you as a boy, because I wouldn't have had a problem giving Robert a shower at that age.
Yeah, I was super offended by that.
So you just contradicted yourself.
And mind you, this is how you said it.
Misty.
I remember, because it wasn't like you sat me down and you're like, "Listen, daughter, you have your private part." No, that's not what you did.
Do you hear yourself? Me, mentor by OSS, ONI, and Nazis. Listen, daughter.
No, what you did was, I was standing in the shower, you were standing outside, and you just were frustrated, and you're like, "You're too old, I can't be doing this anymore, this is your last shower." And I was like,
no, so allow me to enlighten you and tell you what prompted that. Because
you were
once
brushing
again,
my hair.
just listen. You had been to Kaiser Hospital, and I would have never known this had you not told me. When you came out, you said, "Dad, they asked me all kinds of weird questions in there." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And the questions you told me they were asking, they were fishing to see if I was a pedophile. Well, that happened to you prior to me the next day getting ready to give you a shower and thinking about that visit to Kaiser. I was like, you know what? It's time for you to start taking showers on your own.
Yeah, you said it very frustrated. You were very frustrated. You're just like, you were like, done with my hair. You were done. I'm like, help me. And you're like, this is your last.
Yeah, because that was back when your hair used to go past your butt.
Yeah. And you
hey, by the way, your dad's hair is almost there now.
Oh, gosh. I know. Not a fan.
Yeah, this is the woman telling me my hair stinks. Oh, God.
It does.
I don't cut it, and I don't comb it.
And you don't wash it either.
No, I do wash it. Please. You know I'm anal retentive when it comes to being clean.
I'm going to get you a dread cleaners.
No, get me one of your high school buddies who now is miserable in life and wants that daddy figure to be her older boyfriend.
Okay. This podcast is officially over on that note, Dad.
Oh,
I don't know that this went the direction I wanted it to go. You definitely took over.
Of course I did. I'm the guest. But I did answer all your questions honestly. And if you thought the last podcast was your most popular ever, you would be wise not to delete anything out this and figure out how you're going to manage the time to make it a part 1, part 2. You're laughing, but you know I'm serious.
I don't know what I'm going to do. This is going to take me forever to edit.
Don't edit it. Leave it raw.
I'll leave it raw for my personal archives. Okay, so we're ending this on what note? Do you miss me?
I'll tell you who I miss. I miss my little pumpkin that had her stolen from LAPD t-shirt on while she's got her little diaper on, and I didn't buy you Pampers. I used diaper service. My daughter wore diapers. Okay? And my daughter, I would make sure that I cleaned every baby bottle because my daughter was not drinking. She was never going to have colic. I miss my little pumpkin who, when she was really young, many nights she would not go to sleep unless she could sleep on her daddy's chest. Yeah, that pumpkin I miss.
I fall asleep on different chests now, Dad.
Thanks for sharing that. So what I'm telling you is, it's rhetorical when you ask that question, do I miss you? No, the only thing I miss is you going out to the Republic of Texas and did not even have the decency to call your father and let him know that you had gotten there, arrived safely.
I posted it on Instagram. That's good enough.
Instagram? You're talking about a guy who's never had a smartphone, an iPad, or an iPhone? And you're going to see, this is where your generation has lost it. You all make the assumption that everybody does what you do. And you refuse to call because you guys would rather text than talk. And when you text, there is so much that can be lost in translation, and worse, so much that leads to misunderstanding, arguments, hurt feelings, and severed relationships.
You sound like a baby boomer.
I be a baby boomer.
All right, Dad, I love you.
I have a question for you before you go.
I got a date.
Are you Gullah Geechee?
Yeah, of course I am. It's running
Thank
through my
you.
veins.
Love you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Hey, thanks for checking this shit show out. If you have an idea you'd like to be featured here, my email is ellaurbellapodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.